Two theaters, $2 million plays, one on the Black Sea, one in the forests outside Moscow. Ukraine launched simultaneous high-stakes operations, one turning the Feodosia naval port in Crimea into a graveyard for Russian ships, the other blowing a gaping wound in Moscow's oil lifeline. The combined damage? In excess of $3 billion, by Ukraine's claim. How did they pull it off? From stealth drones to electronic warfare, radar deception to unmanned sea drones, this is the tale of two audacious strikes. Let's walk through how they unfolded, and what's still unconfirmed. In the early hours, a hush that often precedes violence blanketed the port of Feodosia in occupied Crimea. That silence broke at approximately 5:47 a.m., according to Ukrainian sources, as Russian forces tried to neutralize what they considered an imminent threat with a preemptive strike. Using 3 M14 caliber cruise missiles, costing more than $1 million each, and powerful close-in defenses like the Kashkan/Kashtan systems, the Kremlin claims to have launched anti-ship and air assets, such as Project 22,160 Bayan-M corvettes, reportedly valued at about $60 million each, and MiG-31 interceptors, worth about $40 million each. However, some of those figures are still unverified and should be interpreted cautiously, as they are sourced from Ukrainian media. Despite the Russian strike, Ukraine argues it responded almost immediately with a synchronized counterattack. Their version goes like this. First, Su-27 fighters deployed radar and electronic decoys to blind Russian defenses. Meanwhile, UJ-22 drones kept eyes overhead, identifying gaps. Neptune anti-ship missiles were then launched in the direction of corvettes that were exposed. Uncrewed surface vessels, USVS, in the water disabled ships without completely sinking them by slipping between mine belts and striking motor systems, transforming them into floating wreckage. Ukraine claims that even Russian-sent underwater drones, UUVs, were jammed. The port was turned into a cemetery in 10 to 15 minutes, with cranes collapsing and hulls burning as Ukraine asserts control of the sea approaches. The damage was increased in the hours that followed when aircraft allegedly targeted infrastructure, command bunkers, oil storage, communication cables, and railroad intersections. On October 6, 2025, Ukrainian soldiers attacked the main oil storage complex in Crimea, the Feodosia oil terminal, resulting in visible fire and explosions that illuminated the night sky. According to Ukrainian officials, the facility is essential for supplying Russian operations on the peninsula because it can contain up to 250,000 tons of petroleum. Russian sources admitted to detecting 251 drones during what Moscow referred to as a large-scale drone assault, including 40 over Crimea. However, open independent sources have not confirmed reports of precise ship killings, the effectiveness of electronic jamming, and widespread coordination. In recent months, Ukraine has increasingly targeted energy infrastructure located far behind Russian boundaries, according to analysts and publicly available satellite data. This has exacerbated shortages in Moscow and jeopardized Russia's logistical resilience. Meanwhile, far inside Russia, about 70 miles, approximately 110 kilometers south of Moscow, another shock was being prepared. Around 2:17 a.m., according to the narrative, Russian K-52 attack helicopters fired S-8 rockets into dense fog at what they believed were Ukrainian scouts, only to be baited by decoys. The real operation began later. Plywood drones, designed to be slow, loud, and attention-grabbing, dubbed Mugen 5, were launched to bait Pantsir air defenses into revealing radar signatures. As Russian eyes focused upward, Ukrainian miners and robotic units moved in at ground level, exploiting access routes along a 6-mile stretch of the Tula-Moscow oil pipeline. T-84 tanks and BMP-style infantry carriers led a feint on Russian forces around 4:10 a.m., while flanking units entered and took control of a supply depot. Charges of sabotage cut off an essential supply line. MiG-29s served as radar decoys, attracting fire when the fog cleared, and Su-30s, flying low in the atmosphere, fired anti-radiation missiles at Nebo-M radar arrays. Electronic warfare ground troops are accused of interfering with S-400 systems radar and GPS signals at the same time, which led to interceptor errors. Swarms of FPV drones raced toward the pipeline intersection as air defenses scrambled. A fiber optic guided combat drone exploded precisely at 6:07 a.m., causing a huge blaze that burst through more than 600 feet of pipe. The blast was followed by high-speed fuel ejections, a ruptured artery crippling the pipeline, and subsequent damage to supply convoys, all before Russian reinforcements could secure the site. Russian sources say they deployed elements of the 76th VDV Airborne Brigade in a counterattack around 6:35 a.m., but Ukrainian accounts claim those forces walked into pre-planted mines and were pinned under drone and mortar fire. By 7:20 a.m., Ukrainian units pulled back, mission complete, not for territorial gain, but for calculated sabotage. A NATO reconnaissance drone, Kyiv contends, confirmed the pipeline's destruction. Through this strike, Ukraine says it inflicted billions in damage, disrupted fuel flows, and forced Moscow to scramble for alternate energy avenues. Again, parts of this story remain unverified. I find no corroborating evidence in independent journalism or satellite intelligence that confirms every movement, drone type, or choreography as described. No open-source program can precisely match the timing or sequence. Nonetheless, analysts concur that Ukraine has greatly increased its deep strikes on Russian energy infrastructure. Kyiv has attacked refineries, pipelines, and oil and gas complexes in the last few weeks alone. According to President Zelensky, Ukraine's actions cut the amount of gasoline supplied by Russia by as much as 20%. What, therefore, do we believe to be true? And what is still up for debate? There are several reasons to support the bombed Feodosia oil terminal. Long-range Ukrainian attacks on Russian energy facilities are widely known. However, accurate drone trajectories, jamming success rates, ship deaths, and the intricate choreography of integrated naval air electronic robotic warfare are all part of war claims that have not been independently validated by open-source analysts. Satellite imagery and signals intelligence would be required to confirm or disprove most of those assertions. Even with those caveats, what emerges clearly is Ukraine's increasing mastery of asymmetric, multi-domain warfare. Sophisticated drones, modular jammers, decoys, and small sea vessels are being integrated not as adjuncts but as core instruments of strategic attack. Russia's rear infrastructure, once considered relatively safe, is coming under sustained pressure. While the full $3 billion figure cannot be independently verified, the pattern is unmistakable. Ukraine seeks to weaponize Russia's dependence on energy logistics, converting them into a vulnerability. In parallel, Russia's retaliation has accelerated. It is now launching massive drone and missile campaigns in Ukraine's energy and civilian infrastructure, attempting to impose winter misery. The Feodosia strike underscores how Ukraine is turning the Black Sea into a contested domain. The pipeline breach signals how even Moscow's heartlands are vulnerable. The core message is not just destruction, but deterrence. Force logistics at the edges and the center alike, and you start to bend an adversary's operational clock. The success or failure of such methods will play out gradually, not overnight. But in this war, audacity, backed by technology and precision, is ever more becoming the strategic center of gravity.